We need a classic epic adventure story now more than ever.
Whether you're riding your luck or you're just waiting for the next chapter to start, I'm glad you joined me on Coffee with Dubs. Now, let's get cinematic.
When I was a kid, The Neverending Story was exactly what the title promised. It was fantasy. There was a boy reading a mysterious book, a warrior named Atreyu, a giant luck dragon, strange creatures, impossible landscapes, and enough adventure to keep an 8-year-old me glued to the television. Like most kids, I watched it because I was excited. I thought it was a story about heroes defeating monsters. I had no idea that one day I'd watch the same exact movie and realize the monsters were never the point. As adults, we have this habit of revisiting things we loved as children, and every once in a while, something strange happens. The movie doesn't change, we do. The words are the same, the scenes are the same, but somehow they start speaking to us differently because we lived through enough life to finally understand what they were trying to teach us all along. And I think The Neverending Story is one of those films. The villain isn't a dragon or a king or even some evil wizard waiting to be defeated. The villain is something called the Nothing. And as a kid, that didn't make much sense to me. How can nothing be an enemy? Nothing isn't even a thing. But the older I get, the more I realize that's exactly why it's so terrifying. The Nothing doesn't march into the world and destroy it. It doesn't announce itself. It simply replaces things until there's nothing left. Not just forests and kingdoms, but wonder, curiosity, hope, the belief that tomorrow can somehow be better than today. It doesn't attack us. It quietly convinces us that dreaming isn't worth it anymore. I look around today and I can't help but wonder if maybe we've been fighting the Nothing for a long time without even realizing it. We have more information than any generation before us, yet somehow we seem to understand each other less. We can communicate with someone on the other side of the planet in seconds, yet we've forgotten how to talk to the person sitting across from us at the dinner table. Every headline demands our attention. Every algorithm feeds us another reason to be afraid or angry. We've become experts at reacting, but beginners at reflecting. And before anyone thinks this is about politics, it isn't. Politics is simply one of the places where we notice it. The deeper issue isn't left or right. It's that we've become so convinced that our side has all the answers that we've stopped asking questions. Curiosity has been replaced by certainty, and certainty is a dangerous place to live because it leaves no room to grow. And one of the reasons I love Atreyu's journey so much, he isn't brave because he has no fear. He's brave because he keeps walking into places that he doesn't understand. He asks questions, he listens, he learns, he mourns the loss of Artex. He doubts himself more than once. He never pretends to have everything figured out. In a strange way, the hero isn't the strongest person in the story. He's simply the one who keeps moving forward toward hope. Then there's the Swamp of Sadness. I don't know anybody who's seen that scene that's forgotten it. As a kid, I cried because Atreyu loses his horse. As an adult, I cry because I finally understand what that swamp really is. It isn't water, it's despair. It's the feeling that whispers, why bother? It's that slow sinking that happens when you stop believing your effort matters. I think we've all stood in that swamp at some point in our lives. Maybe not because of depression, maybe because of disappointment, burnout, loss, failure, whatever the reason. We've all heard that quiet voice telling us to stop trying. But here's what I think the movie gets beautifully right. The answer isn't pretending that the swamp doesn't exist. The answer is refusing to build a home there. Every one of us will walk through sadness. Danger comes when sadness convinces us that it's the only place we'll ever live. That's why Bastian matters so much. He isn't the strongest character. He doesn't even have a sword. He doesn't slay a monster. He's just a boy who's willing to believe that the story isn't over. And in the end, that's what saves Fantasia. Not power, not strength, not certainty, belief. Maybe that's what we've forgotten. Belief isn't blind optimism. It's choosing to plant a tree you'll never sit under. Creating art even when no one buys it. Raising your kids to be kind in a world that profits from outrage. It's helping the neighbor you'll probably never need help from. It's believing that one conversation can change a life, even if you'll never see how it changed it. I don't think The Neverending Story was ever trying to help us escape reality. I think it was preparing us to return to reality with different eyes. To remember that every generation inherits a world that feels uncertain. Every generation believes they're living through unprecedented times. And every generation has to decide whether they'll spend their lives feeding the fear or feeding hope. Maybe that's why these old stories endure so well. They aren't instruction manuals for fantasy. They're reminders of what it means to be human. They teach us that courage isn't the absence of fear, that hope isn't the absence of hardship, and that imagination isn't childish. It's the birthplace of every better future we've ever built. So maybe the question isn't whether the nothing exists. Maybe the question is whether we notice it before it quietly steals our curiosity, our compassion, our willingness to create, and our belief that tomorrow is still worth building on. Because the greatest fantasy stories were never written to help us escape the real world. They were written to remind us that the real world is worth saving. Thanks for coming in for another pour on Coffee with Dubs. Until next time, don't stop imagining the world as it could be, because every meaningful change begins with someone who refuses to believe the story is over. I'm out of here.